The first race I raced in was up at Rock and Roll Speedway,
Yeah, in Frewsburg.
up on Oak Hill.
Yes.
Joe Anderson built
Yes.
a racetrack up there in Potato Patch. And he said if he got off the track, he was digging potatoes. That's the first time I raced. And then I raced at up here at Watts Flats. There was a racetrack up there.
Roll the ball.
Roll the boat. I went to Clarion one time and raced. And they stopped the feature race because there was some drunk that was passed out between the wheel fence and the guide rails. And he woke up during the feature race and walked out onto the track.
Oh my God.
That was at Clarion. Started racing in '58. That's when I bought that car from Cliff Coon.
What's your number, by the way?
The number on that one was 31.
31. Any particular reason?
No, it had a 3 on it, and there was already number 3, so I added a 1 to it, made it 31. And then I raced that, and then I bought went into the trucking business and bought a new truck, so then I quit racing. Oh yes, I raced up at Arkwright Speedway for Van, and if I won the feature, it paid $200. If Bob Hallett won the feature, it paid $300. So I jumped Van about it, and I said, Van, so why, what's the difference? Well, he said, that's just the way it is. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter. I said, well, he said, we don't need you. That's the last time Van run that speedway. Next week he had 4 cars. Nobody else went because they knew what he told me and the way it was, and nobody else showed up the next week. We all went to Perry, New York and raced.
If you had to close your eyes and sort of take a lap around Arkwright, Van Speedway and Arkwright, how could you describe the track?
It was a really, really nice track. It was the right length. It was banked good, and you could just about go most any place with it. You know, you could run inside, outside, and stuff. And you remember Al Stearns?
From South Dayton.
Okay. Championship race, I guess is what it was. He was leading the race, and on the last lap, I passed him on the outside and won the race. That was way back when, you know.
Yeah.
But that was when we got into the argument with Van about what it paid and stuff and everything, and that was about the last time. That was the last time you ever run that track. Remember Cliff Norton? I'll tell you a story about Cliff. The car I run, I had a big tire on the right front, and I blowed it. So I didn't have nothing else to put on it. So I'm putting a little tire on it because it had the big Ford center wheels on it. And we did that. And he come over, what are you doing? I said, well, I don't have a tire. He would come rolling a brand new tire. He said, put this on. And I said, well, how much am I going to owe you for it if I ruin it? He said, I'll tell you what, if you beat me today, I'll give you that tire and wheel. And I won the race. And he stuck to his word. I was taking it off, wheel it back up there. He said, oh no, he said, that's your tire and wheel. He said, you earned it.
So
But,
you borrowed his tire, won the race, and won the tire.
Right.
I love it.
But them were the kind of people that you raced with back in them days.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it wasn't anybody who wouldn't help you to get your car out into the track.
Back to Van Speedway. You won a race on September 4th, 1959.
Okay.
There was a race the next week, but there were no results in the newspaper.
Right.
Right after that, Van sold the racetrack, and the new people named it Hilltop.
Right.
And you went back up there and raced for those new people. In fact, you finished second on October 11th of 59.
And you know more about my life than I do.
Well, no, all I'm saying is
No, but I can't
you've got
remember
a
all
great
that stuff.
memory of
Oh, yeah.
exactly what happened. And,
Well,
and
you see
I just
this right
verified
here?
everything you said.
Well, when I told you that
Yeah.
he had a race, but
Yeah.
only 4 cars showed up,
That must have been
that
it.
was when there was no write-up in the paper. That's when he
And
didn't
then
even have a race that day. The guy that flagged up there, I can't remember his name, but he always wanted to drive a car. So I let him drive my car around the track a few times. And when he come in, he said, Well, he said, I could probably race in that car. He was the flagman, but he always wanted to take a car around the track, you know. And so I let him do that one time.
One thing we haven't asked you yet about Dale is back in 1964 and 65, a guy named Billy Collins took over the old Van Speedway. He
Okay.
renamed it Arkwright Speedway.
Right, Speedway, right.
And you were there, and
Right.
and you won.
Right.
I've got July 10th,
I
1965.
beat Al Stearns.
Well, that day you beat Dick Peck.
Okay.
In 1965. What do you remember about Arkwright Speedway and Billy Collins?
I don't really recall Billy Collins, probably because he probably wasn't as hands-on as Van was. Van had to be kind of in control of everything, you know what I'm saying? Where maybe this guy just owned the track and run it and let the people he hired do their job instead of trying to do everything himself.
So what we're going to do, we're going to meet at Casadega first.
Okay.
And we're going to show our movies and
Okay.
interview people. Then the people who own the racetrack now, the property, they're going to let us go out to the property. So
Yep.
you're going to walk around the racetrack and tell us what it was like.
Oh yeah, well, it was back in the good old days, I guess.
Clark takes jalopy. Dale Clark of Frewsburg. Profiting by Al Stearns' engine trouble. Roared to victory. There you go.
He didn't have any engine problems. I just beat him.
You just beat. Well, he probably told the reporter that he
Whatever.
had.
What happened to you?
They had to
Oh,
make it-
engine, man.
Here's
Yeah,
another
oh,
one.
yeah.
Now, here it says you
Yeah.
flipped your car at Vans,
I did,
and then you came back and won the feature.
right?
Wow. What happened?
Somebody forgot to tell us that for the film.
No. I rolled it
Yeah, you rolled it over.
in the heat race.
Yeah, that's what it
Put
says.
it back on its wheels, and I won the feature.
That's what it says.
Yeah, no, that's true. I was there.
It was there.
No,
Here's a story about Cliff Norton and all that stuff.
yeah, yep,
And there's your Bob Hallett guy. I
Right.
mean, it's all right in here.
right. Right here, okay. Bob Hallett pushed his car out in front of the pack and keep it there when the
Raj Boland.
Right? Remember him?
Oh yeah, it's all there, buddy.
I raced at Holland Speedway. I raced at Perry, New York. Raced at Lancaster, New York. And I tell you what, I did one time. I told you about Rule Hansen. He built a car one time. I don't know if you know about this car or not.
Oh,
It was
tell
the
us.
first rear-engine car ever built in this part of the country.
Wow.
It was built out of tube frame, and the engine was behind the driver. It had a Cadillac V8 in it. And I tried running it at the short tracks, but I run it down at Dempseytown. And you just couldn't get through the turns with it because it had all kinds of traction. But when you got down the throttle, you picked the front wheels right up off the ground. So you had to let off on it, get on the brakes, get the wheels back down before you go through the turn. But I run it up at Lancaster, New York, on the big half mile when it was dirt, and now we did real well up there with it. It would really. I beat some really top cars out of Canada with that car up there, about 3 or 4 times, and then it had a swing axle in the back. You know what a swing axle is? Independent suspension. That was something new. back then.
Everybody had a straight axle back then.
No, I mean, so, but I forget now, something happened to it, and I know what it was. We were going around, and some guy come up and hit me, and then another guy drove into the side of it and wrinkled it up pretty good, and so Rule just parked it. We never run it after that. But then my brother started driving for Rule, and he run that car there down at Dempseytown.
Right.
Now, your brother it's Fred?
Yeah,
Okay.
Who's older? You or Fred?
Fred's old.
Okay.
And see, he built a car to run up here at State Line. But Rule, he was always engineering and doing something different. Well, he built a narrower rear end. The right axle was the right length, the left axle was this long. Narrowed it up, and they wouldn't let them race it up here. So that's why they went and raced at Dempseytown. Okay, you seen the picture of the number 7 out here on the wall? But then I started driving that car. Jim McGirt was going to drive it, and then, well, that picture there shows me spinning out up here. But it was really a tough car it was real short, you know what I'm saying? And when you sat in it, your right foot was like right here, and you run the gas pedal like this. And the brake was over here, and you sit, you know. But I got used to it, and I beat Ronnie Blackmer with that. I was the first guy. That's when Ronnie Blackmer was winning everything, and I was the first guy to beat him. And then I beat him quite a few more times with that number 7. It was built by Jim McGirt, Steve Davis, if you remember him, and Milt Peterson. They're the 3 guys that owned that car, and I drove it for them. Well, then, at the end of the season, somebody wanted to buy it, so they sold it to them. And I don't know whatever happened to the car, or nothing. I know the guy who bought it never did anything with it.
So that was 1965, as I remember.
Could be, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You won like 7 races between State Line and Erie that year.
Right.
Something like that.
And it was built on the Henry J frame. They used it and built it as light as they could. You know, light in this back, light and fast was better, I guess. And it did work. So then I won a 100-lapper with this number 10 State Line in 1966. Okay, I bought this car from Hoot Kaiser, and I talked to him. He said, "Okay, we come up with the price." I paid $600 for it. Okay, and I get up to the racetrack that night, and he said, "Well, there's the car. You sure going to buy it?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But I'll tell you what, Hoot. I just got back from California, hadn't had a whole lot of rest and stuff. So I said, you run it tonight, and then I'll buy it after the races." He said, "Okay." So he gets out in the heat race, and he spins out and hits the fence. Come back in, checked it all over. Couldn't find nothing wrong with it. So, it was about the middle of the pack car. It goes out there in the feature and starts in the middle, you know, and goes right up to the front, won the feature. He come in and I said, "Well, now I suppose you don't want to sell it." "Oh," he said, "a deal's a deal," but he said, "I'll tell you what, it's the first time I ever sold a feature winner."
Hoot won the feature on July 2nd, 1966.
Right?
You won the 100-lapper on August 6th, 1966.
Right, so-
You beat out Lyle Brown and Skip Furlow that
Right.
night.
And they argued forever and ever that they beat me, but they had got caught up in an accident down in the 3rd turn, and I went around them on the outside, and I was a lap ahead of them. And they didn't know it. See, they both had passed me near the end of the race. That's why they thought they were in the lead. But the flagman, the guy right here, he kept going. That I was number 1. And Gordy Mann, who took pictures, was in the infield, and he kept saying that I was number 1. So I kept going, you know, and I won the race. But that's how that happened. And then, I'll tell you about this number 10 car. So then I bought a new truck, and so I quit racing. And it was parked up at the house
By the way, when did you quit racing?
after 66.
Okay.
I parked the car up in the yard. And,
Wow, I mean, you had great success, and then just because the
Well,
car was
I bought a new truck, and you got payments to make, you know, you got a family to raise. So I just quit racing
Yep,
and run my truck. I run New York City, I run all over the country
makes sense.
and that. So I parked it. Well, Hoot Kaiser calls me up. He said, "What are you doing with that car?" I said, "Sitting up in the driveway." He said, "Well, how about if I run it for you?" I said, "Well, come up and get it." So he come up and got it. Took it back, right? And he run down at Knox and down at that speedway down there between Brookville and Punxsy. I can't think of the name of that, but I will after a while. But anyways, he run it. You know, I didn't hear nothing from him. Go down at the junction of 66 and 322 in Clarion. There was a restaurant there where the Country Fair Station is now. I was in there one morning eating breakfast. and he seen my truck, so he whips in there, he come in there and he said, well, I've been looking all over for you. And the deal was, when he took the car, was any money that he won, he would take out what it cost him to keep the car running and get to the track. They'd take out what they paid for pit passes and everything, right? And then he would take 60% of what was left, and I would get 40%. You know, for owning the car. And I hadn't seen him, you know. And he come in. He said, boys, I've been looking all over for you. I said, what do you need, a motor or what? He said, no. I said, I owe you some money. I said, do you? He whipped out a whole roll of bills. $660.
Wow.
More than I paid for the car.
Was that Hummingbird Speedway?
Hummingbird, that's it. Hummingbird Speedway. Yep, you got it. But, he said, what do you want to do with the car? I said, hey, if you want to run it, just keep it there. And I think his son ran it some after that, down that way. But where the car is at today, I have no idea. I just, you know, got out of it and whatever. So, but that was, like Hoot said when he wrecked it that night, and he won the feature. He said, first time I ever sold a feature winner. I mean, you got it right there. I mean, it shows it. So, and then this is when I won the 100 lapper here.
This is going on Randy Anderson's face page right here.
Yeah.
Plus you got.
But up at Flickerwood Speedway, we had this championship race, and I beat him. And of course, you had to have a stock engine. I had a 100cc Yamaha, had to be stock. So, if they wanted to tear you down, they had to put up $100 to put your engine back together. If you were illegal, you lost $100 in whatever your engine laid there. But if you were stock, and I was stock, but I still beat them. And boy, they were really upset about that.
Now that number 7 car,
Right.
that you were talking about earlier, that car had a nickname, as I recall.
Little bomb.
Little Bomb.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Because it was with the Henry J frame, and we had a shorter wheelbase, and I guess that's just how it got its name. You know.
Now you also raced that car up at the Dickey or the Warren Sports Speedway, didn't you?
Yep. I got second with it. Ronnie Blackburn got first.
Tell us about the Warren Sports Speedway. What do you remember about that place?
It didn't go over because of that first race is what really killed it.
What happened?
It was so dusty you couldn't see. And the spectators, I mean, it was terrible. And I tell you the reason why I got second was because the only thing I could see was Ronnie's blue car. And I followed him. And I was just hoping that he didn't go off the track, because if
You would have
he
followed
did,
him.
I'd have followed him. But that's just the way it went. But I just think poor preparation of the track, you know, for the dust control and everything, is what really put that down.
Now, that was owned by Ben White.
Up at Grunderville Speedway was the name of it. Up on
Okay.
Grunderville Road, where it was at. And I just feel that he wasn't ready. He shouldn't have raced that day because he wasn't ready. He should have postponed it until he had the dust under control and stuff. You talk about funny things. This number 10 car, when I bought it from Hoot. Okay, of course, like when he ran it was always in the middle of the pack type of car and stuff. Well, the flagman, that guy there,
Ed Nelson.
Ed Nelson, right? So when I come up there with that car, right, I'm starting in about the second row, right? So Ed comes down through there, checked to make sure everybody can seatbelt up whenever we go. And he looked at her and he said, "You driving this?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Then go to the back of the field."
Well, Dale, why did you not even take Hoot's name off the roof of the car? It still says Hoot.
I don't know. Just
You didn't want anybody to know
my
you were in that car?
My name was on the other side.
Oh, on the
Right.
spectator side.
Right, and I just let that on there.
No kidding.
Right. So, I mean, it was just, but no, Hoot and I were always good friends and stuff. But like I said, that day when he come in there and handed me all that money. He said, "Here's what I owe you for your percentage," and it was more than I paid for the car to start with. When I wound up, I didn't have a nickel in that car.
That's fantastic. Before we forget, you're going to have to tell that Swede story.
Oh yeah, the Swedes, 2 old Swedes went into the unemployment office looking for work. And the guy's interviewing him. He says, the first is, "What do you do?" "Well," he says, "I'm a carpenter." His buddy says, "Holy, I didn't know you painted cars." Carpenter.
That's a,
Remember Knox Speedway?
Yeah. Well, it was in Knox, PA.
Well,
Yeah.
Sam Caldwell.
Yeah.
Caldwell's, they built it. We raced there. But Sam, he drove that number 80 car. That was his car. And there's one thing I can remember about Sam Caldwell. You know what that was? It didn't matter whether you was passing him or he was passing you, he had to hit you. It didn't make no difference whether he was going by you or if he was going by him. He had to let you know that he was there.
so, Dale, what's your highlight or two? You sit back and you reflect and you say, that was the big race that I really enjoyed winning.
Oh, probably that 100 lapper.
Yeah.
Because I guess just because nobody thought I was going to win it. You know what I'm saying? Because Whitehead and Stan Stevens and all them guys are so much faster, you know, whatever, so on and so forth. But it just lucked out that, you know, they got caught up. And I tell you what, there was a kid from Jamestown that raced a number 12.
Sealy?
Sealy. He took off in the 100-lap race, leading it. And I was chasing him. And he was just running, I mean, like it was a 20-lap race. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we were running. And then when they had that accident down there, and all them cars behind it got caught up in it, that's when we lapped all them, because we were so far ahead, that's how we lapped them. Okay? Because back in them days, they didn't throw a yellow flag and a red flag just because somebody spun out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the track almost had to be blocked before they would stop a race. It wasn't like it is today. I mean, somebody spins out, yellow flag. You know, back in them days, that didn't happen. I mean, they didn't stop a race unless they absolutely had to. But I would say probably having fun, I would say probably racing up at Rock and Roll Speedway up on top of Oak Hill was probably a lot of fun. Back, you know, you're up there with an old car with not much money in it, you know. I think I paid Cliff $50 for that car with no engine and no transmission in it, you know. And the fact, I tell you what, when I went and bought that 235 Chevy engine from Bob Hallett, I beat him that night, or that weekend for that car. And he sold me the engine for $35. And after the feature, he said, if I'd have known you was going to beat me with that, I'd have charged you $100 for it. But it's just things like that back in them days, it didn't cost you an arm and a leg to race. And I can probably honestly say that in all the years that I raced, it never, ever cost me anything to race. I always made enough to pay my way.
Your brother raced,
Right.
Fred.
Right.
Did you guys race against each other? Was there friendly brother competition there?
Well, the first time I beat him, my mother wasn't very happy about it.
Your mother?
Yeah,
Why is that?
because she didn't think anybody could beat Fred.
Oh, the older son. The older son.
Yeah. He was kind of her favorite. So, I mean, she was really upset that first time I beat him. Oh, man, I'll tell you. And Rule worked on this car, and Dave Hansen, his brother, worked on my car. They went to Dempseytown that night, and we went to State Line, won a 100-lapper.
Okay.
And so they got back, pulled in and everything, and that one guy that raced down there beat him that night. They got second that night. Wheeling was his name, Bill Wheeling.
Bill Wheeling.
Remember him?
Yeah, I do.
He raced down there, but he beat Fred that night. And we were sitting there, and they pulled in and stuff. And he said, "How'd you do?" I said, "Oh, we didn't do too bad." And then we set the trophy up on the hood. So it was a lot of fun, you know. But
was the tricks of the trade? You know, every track had rules and regulations, but I know under the hood there were some tricks that you tried to pull. What were some of them?
Well, it wasn't too, like milling that head off, right? Well, nobody back in them days, it had to be completely stock, right? But anybody, like them people that did tear me down that one time and found that it was stock, back in them days they didn't have the knowledge to mill to see if the head would mill. I mean, you know, to find out if it had been changed or not. Well, by milling that, Frank said by milling that head that much, that'd be the same as putting in dome pistons.
Increase the
You know,
compression.
You increase the compression, and that's why it run pretty good. But basically, back in them days, it was they had some rules, but basically it was run what you brung. You know what I'm saying? Unless you was really like when Rule built that offset rear end, they wouldn't allow him to race that. You know, because it was changing whatever. You know.
But it was a little more obvious too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the rear end's only this wide instead of this wide, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it was real obvious that, I mean, the one axle was only this long, the other axle was this long, you know, so. But we had a lot of fun back in them days. And, you know, but like I said, we had no trailers that we towed on. In fact, I think Rule was the first one to build a trailer to haul that car on. When he started going to Dempseytown, he built a one axle trailer to haul that car on to go to Dempseytown. But before that, hell, we towed on the race, we towed them on the road.
You're unbelievable. You're a great memory.
Well, but anyways, like, you know, building State Line, when they built that track up there and all that stuff, it all, you know, just, it's all part of the racing history. But you know what, I don't believe there was, back in them days, there wasn't anything that nobody would go out there and intentionally try to take somebody out just to put them out of a race. If you got spun out or somebody spun you, you know, whatever, it was accidental. I mean, it was Dickie Ben's.
Yeah, I know about it.
You know Gary Littlefield?
Yeah, I know who he is.
Okay. One time he raced in a powder puff race down there.
Gary Littlefield raced in a powder puff?
Yeah, he put a dress on and wore a wig and stuff and everything. And I can't remember now who the flagman was down at Dickie Ben. But anyways, he kind of knew it was Gary, but he said, "That's got to be the ugliest woman I've ever seen."
You won on June 27th
Right.
at Erie.
Right?
You won on July 10th at State Line. You won on July 18th at Erie. You won on July 24th at State Line. July 31st at State Line. August 14th at State Line.
Well, here's
Yeah.
15th at Erie.
Yeah. Now let's look at, here's some second place finishes. Let's see. You got a second
Yeah.
in there, another second. Another second.
Yeah.
Got any thirds over here?
Well, there's
Well,
one down here.
There's one down here. You
Yeah.
finished third.
Right.